Good evening. The Jamaica Constabulary Force this afternoon announced that Constable Noel Maitland, the boyfriend of deceased social media personality Donnelly Donaldson, has been charged with her murder.
My reaction towards this arrest is no surprise. I must tell you that because I already see it, know it. The evidence, all the evidence was pointing to him. And even though when we get some anonymous tip and related to police, they would have said it's just hearsay. You know, them not jump on it and move on it. Even like the chuck. When my sister tell them about the chuck and all these things, and when them go for tape, they move on them own time. I think the JCF may charge him right now, but them not deserve no applause. Jamaica right now, I plead to no first and foremost, Jamaica, my people, my Jamaican people, them. All of my friends, them, my relatives, especially my relatives, them. Me I reach out to you, my relatives. Me I reach out to you. You don't need to come out. You don't need to come out and come help a fight. Because right now, Jamaican people are come out. And I ask all Jamaicans to come out and help. So right now, which part it reach, we have to fight more, even harder than how they fight. Because we reach now, at the part this way, him either I go get where I more get sentence. And you know how the one they can go. So we need to keep the pressure on. And we need Cathy to know so we're out the road now with 1,000 tomorrow and get nervous and talk up the truth them. Yes sir, Jamaican, we are asking them to come out at Parish Church 10 o'clock tomorrow for the protest. From there we will announce where we're going.
Now, this comes after Ms. Donaldson's missing persons case was upgraded to a murder case, as revealed by Deputy Commissioner of Police Fitz Bailey.
On July 27, Constable Maitland was taken into police custody and a press statement issued. On July 29, he was taken before a court and remanded in custody. What I can report at this time is that Constable Maitland was this afternoon charged with the murder of his 23-year-old girlfriend, Donnelly Donaldson. His formal charge comes after 20 days of diligent and comprehensive investigation by detectives in what began as a missing persons investigation, but given the evidence that was being collected, subsequently became a murder probe.
For his part, Commissioner of Police Major General Anthony Anderson sought to assure the family of Ms. Donaldson as well as the public that the JCF has taken a deliberate approach in trying to solve the case.
I just want to address the investigations surrounding Donnelly Donaldson, who was reported missing on July the 13th. We have spent the last 20 days probing and following where the evidence has led. We are mindful of the sensitivities of this particular case, as the person at the center of the investigation is a police officer. As such, the investigative team has received the highest level of oversight from the Deputy Commissioner in charge of our crime and security portfolio and senior detectives assigned to the CIB headquarters. The investigation is also benefiting from the input of other agencies, including INDECOM, the Institute of Forensic Science and Legal Medicine, and the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions. Relatives of Donnelly and members of the public can be assured that we've approached the investigation in a very deliberate and systematic way. We have spared no effort in our investigations as we utilize modern technology, forensic science, and solid traditional detective work to progress the case.
In the meantime, Major General Anderson highlighted that major crimes are equal to what they were this time last year, despite seeing a decline in incidents of shootings and rapes.
As at the end of July, major crimes are equal to last year. Murder itself is up by 4% when compared to the corresponding period last year. Gang conflicts still account for 70% of these murders, and interpersonal conflicts account for about 14%, while 6% occurred in furtherance of other criminal acts. Mob killings for 1% and 9% are still under investigation. Shootings continue to show a downward trend, with 8% fewer incidents this year than in 2021. Rape is down 16%, robbery is up 10.5%, and break-in is up 3%. The increase in robberies and break-in is of particular concern as life gets back to pre-COVID normalcy. As a response, we have made adjustment to personnel in various divisions. Additional mobility assets are being acquired and will be deployed over the next few weeks, and another team of quick response motorcyclists will be deployed by the end of August. And also, divisional commanders have been instructed to review their anti-robbery strategies in light of these changes.
In other news tonight, 3 houses were torched during a bitter battle between rival gangs in Gregory Park, Portmore, St. Catherine this morning. Residents also reported heavy gunfire for a prolonged period as rival gangs traded bullets. A few minutes after 3 a.m., police have since confirmed that 2 wooden structures were razed along Cottage Drive. A concrete dwelling on Mitchell Drive was also firebombed. Investigations are ongoing. Continuing with the news tonight, during his address at the People's National Party's PNP's National Executive Council NEC meeting yesterday, former PNP President and former Prime Minister P.J. Patterson called on members of the party to respect the leadership of their President Mark Golding. Here is Truston Grizzle with the details.
Former Prime Minister and the PNP President P.J. Patterson urged the members of the party to show support and respect for their leader, Mark Golding. Mr. Patterson, who was speaking at the PNP's National Executive Council meeting at the University of the West Indies on the weekend, says publicly aired disagreements between PNP members are a disgrace to watch.
Not every decision any party leader takes, everybody will agree with. But there are some decisions that fall within the prerogative of the party leader. That is why he is the party leader. And we must offer him the full respect and the authority and the backing. And believe you me, when I saw and read some of the things that were being said, I never knew that comrade could trace comrade so. It is awful. And the Labour Party just lap it up. Why have I mentioned this? Because I am glad, I am relieved at certain trends which I have seen emerging, which suggest that we can all be together again.
The former Prime Minister added that the party should not fail in reminding the country of its achievements under a PNP-led government.
I am hurt. I am hurt by the impression which is being given that the governments that I led and the governments that Portia led did nothing for Jamaica. And it is against that background I want to say something about the discussion on the floor. Yes, the PNP is always judged by higher standards. But if we keep on failing to remind the country of our record of achievements, nothing we tell them will become credible. Look at the PATH program. If we did not have the National Insurance Fund in place, could we have survived the COVID pandemic? So if we want to recapture the southern plains, and if we want to recapture the northern plains, and if we want to capture the municipal areas, we have to pay far more attention and embrace the union movement.
Meanwhile, party president Mark Golding, in addressing the meeting, criticized the government's handling of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, pointing out that the most vulnerable must be protected as the country deals with the effects of the virus.
In the budget debate, myself and Comrade Robinson spoke to the need for a proper program of relief to protect the most vulnerable in the country at this time. The country is going through a period of intense hardship. It has come out of 2 years of pandemic. The economy is still not back to where it was in 2019. When they talk about high levels of growth this year, I don't know if you should really describe getting back to where you were as growth. That is really recovery, and we're partway along, but we're not yet fully there yet. But the impact of the pandemic and what has flowed from the pandemic with the supply chain disruptions, the disruptions to the commodity markets, the geopolitical turbulence in Eastern Europe, in Ukraine and with Russia, and all of the impact that that has had on food prices, on agricultural, chemical and fertilizer prices, on the commodities of oil and gas, we need to protect our most vulnerable people.
Mr. Golding also pointed out the impact of the virus on the education system.
We have learning loss of major proportions in the education system. We have 20,000 children who still haven't been found. And there are many, many more who are way behind. The experts have told us we need to be spending around $4 billion just to address that issue. The 2% of GDP that I have identified as being a reasonable sum to tide us through this period and cushion the crisis could address that issue. It could increase the pensions paid to the elderly who are suffering. It could make the PATH beneficiaries receive a more meaningful contribution to their living expenses than they currently do. They are on the margins of survival. It could help our farmers to produce at prices that we could afford to buy food at, by giving them fertilizer at prices that they can afford to buy at. These are not pie-in-the-sky, irresponsible ideas. These are important and responsible ideas that the people of Jamaica would like to see happen.
Reporting for Mello TV, I'm Truston Grizzle.
Thank you, Truston, for that report. Still tonight, the National Water Commission, NWC, is reporting that its Mahoney Water Facility in St. Andrew is currently out of operation due to a broken transmission main on the network. Now, this has affected water distribution to customers served by the system. Areas affected are Mahoney, Rose Hall, Lawrence Tavern, Cassava River, Mount Olive, and Asset Hill. The NWC says repair work is being carried out and it is estimated that it will be completed by tomorrow, August 3 at 6 p.m. The NWC says it regrets any inconvenience caused and craves the patience and understanding of customers. Still making Mello TV news. Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, Senator Matthew Samuda announced that he will be heading the investigation into an alleged chemical spill in the Rio Cobre. Here is Truston Grizzle with more on this story.
Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, Matthew Samuda, in heading the investigation into a chemical spill in the Rio Cobre, led a delegation that visited the site on the weekend to assess the environmental and the social impact of the recent fish kill. Mr. Samuda said that this will be a multi-ministry investigation where a series of assessments will be done.
The issue facing us today is based on a recent spill, but it's unfortunately not a new issue to the people that live along the Rio Cobre and the people that benefit from the Rio Cobre. Unfortunately, they will tell you that the government has well-earned cynicism, and it is because this has been going longer than I've been alive. So I understand why they feel as frustrated as they feel. The issue has been, the river has been impacted by bauxite, it has been impacted by construction. We also know it has been impacted by farming, with significant discharge at different points into the river, which makes it difficult for those who fish, those who enjoy pleasurable experiences, those who sell tours of sorts to the space, those who access water from the river. This issue is multifaceted, so there's no simple fix. We, however, are not going to stand here and tell you that the issue and the problems as we have identified can continue unabated. I think that is impatient of debate. What we've received here on this Emancipendence weekend is basically a gift of poison, and that is not what we would have wanted for Jamaica 60. So I think incumbent on all of the agencies represented here and on the government, there are many steps we will have to take to ensure that we're not having this discussion at Jamaica 70, certainly not at Jamaica 65. So the Prime Minister has instructed that a working group be convened to look at the issue of discharge into the Rio Cobre, to look at the issue of development along the course of the Rio Cobre, to ensure that the fix deals with the issues in the way that they need to be dealt with.
Describing the damage from the latest spill as significant, Samuda said the bauxite company Windalco could be made to forfeit a $115 million environmental performance bond if it is determined that it is responsible for the spill.
We're not going to diminish the impact on the citizens here. This is devastating. I'm saddened to see the impact on the farmers, on the fisher folk, on those who need water for household use. This is a problem. This is a serious issue. Now, people will say, well, what's the consequence? And then they'll say, well, what's the fix? Let's start first with the consequence. Windalco has, the Jamaican government through the NRCA holds an environmental performance bond from Windalco, which means when there are breaches, when there is environmental impact, the government can draw down on this bond proportionally to the damage observed. This damage is significant. I will allow the scientists, the team at NEPA, the engineers to do their assessment. But I want to assure the people of Jamaica that the government holds on this environment bond at current exchange rate over $115 million. So we will be able to draw down significant sums to ensure that the cost is felt by the company and that the money that the professionals need to do the remedial work is indeed put into place. So there will be consequences outside of the usual low fines.
He further said that the legislation will also be amended this year to significantly increase the fines on companies that cause such damage to the environment.
On the issue of fines, I also want to assure the public that in the next legislative cycle, coming out of the summer break, the government will be moving apace to table amendments to the NRCA Act and to the Wildlife Protection Act, both of which we believe the company has run afoul of today, to significantly increase the fines. The Prime Minister would have said so in Great Bay and he has instructed me and indeed the team at MEGJC, who lead the legislative charge, to ensure that this is tabled in the coming quarter. So the government is assuring the people of Jamaica that the issue of low fines will come to an end this year, in our 60th year. We won't continue like this where people can put this as a cost of doing business. But we are also assuring the public that we will draw down on the environmental performance bond proportionately. The public should also be aware that for Windalco to then continue operating, they will need to replenish this environmental performance bond. Now, we're not going to allow that to become a cost of doing business. There's a lot of work that NEPA, Team at Mines and Geology, and indeed JBI, indeed the Ministry of Environment, will have to do with this company to find a sustainable way for them to do business.
Meanwhile, Senior Manager of the Environmental Subdivision at NEPA, Richard Nelson, explained the impact to the river by the chemical spill.
Our technicians are doing what we call a pH test of the water, which is an indication of the level of caustic that may be in it. Under normal circumstances, the background pH of the Raya is between 7.4 to 8.4. What we're observing since the spill, we have had pH within this vicinity of the river as high as 11.3. This is an indication of excessive alkaline material or caustic material input into the river. The challenge with that is that aquatic life can only tolerate a maximum pH of 9. And because of since the last day and a half or so, the pH ranging from 10.56 up to 11.3 is along the entire length of the river. And as a result of that, we have seen the consequences of fish kill. We have seen several species of fishes floating down the river. And that is what we can see on the ground. Of course, things such as fish eggs and other aquatic organisms that are not clearly visible to the naked eye will also be impacted. Now, the test that we have received today, we have received slightly lower levels than yesterday. We're in the 9 and 8 point something, which suggests that it is slowly returning to normality. Of course, Windalco is expected as a part of their spill management plan that they must cauterize the spill, they must do flushing, they must do neutralization to get back the system under control. And that is what we are seeing based on what they are doing.
Reporting for Mello TV, I'm Truston Grizzle.
Thank you, Truston, for that report. Meanwhile, Senator Matthew Samuda commissioned the St. Mary water supply recently. He highlighted that the installation of the water pump is a reflection of the improved service given to the citizens of Jamaica and forms the basis of growth to the people of St. Mary. Furthermore, Minister Samuda underscored that as a result of the recent increase in energy costs, he expects the Cabinet to approve a plan that will overhaul the National Water Commission's energy use.
NWC, like citizens all across the country, have faced the increased costs because of increasing oil prices. Every time there's an increase in oil prices, it affects new projects and our ability to move faster, to connect new customers or to repair old lines, etc. We have had significant increases, just like our citizens in the country, for our power. This has affected us negatively. And it is because of this, within the coming weeks, I expect Cabinet to review and hopefully approve a plan that will see NWC look to revamp its energy usage at all levels. Now, this statement is not to be construed as me saying that NWC is leaving the grid, because we certainly are not. But it is to be construed as NWC taking a hard look at its power usage and its possibility for cheaper sources in some spaces. But it does mean we also have to work with our stakeholders, JPS, to ensure that we use the best systems and that we get the best rates and that we're able to change the situation, because small changes in that area allow us to do community projects that benefit thousands and thousands of Jamaicans. So it's important.
He indicated that a non-revenue water system must be implemented across the country that will mitigate leaky pipes and climatic challenges.
The other factor and the main ingredient, indeed, in how you get water into your pipe is actually rainfall. And that is something that we have much less control over. The figures for May that I would have seen maybe a week and a half ago, I need to look up the final June figures with the Met Service. Jamaica in May got rainfall that was equal to 49% of its 30-year average. That tells you we have a problem. St. Mary in particular had rainfall at 46% of its 30-year average when you compare May over the period. Now, everybody gets the problem, right? If you have less rainfall, you have increased energy costs, we're going to have challenges. Now, one of the ways that we're going to beat that challenge is we're going to have to look at all of our systems, and we have to take care of the leaky pipes. We have to put in place a non-revenue water system nationally, and it is something that we're looking at in terms of what the best model is for financing, because that is going to be critical as we deal with the ravages of climate change. That is just absolutely, there's no way around it. We won't be able to, not just cost-wise, we won't be able to lose a drop of water if we're going to manage the changes in weather patterns, and that is just a reality.
According to the minister, approximately 30 to 40,000 residents will benefit from the tank.
My understanding is that the system will benefit communities in Islington, Knutsfield and Highgate. That communities right across the length and breadth, certainly going into central St. Mary, will benefit from this, and we are particularly happy. The service space is at between 30 and 40,000 persons that are going to benefit from better supply. This is nothing to scoff at. This is something that we're very happy to be a part of this afternoon. There is additional work which was carried out, I think, on a 4.8 kilometer length of pipeline. We would have spent, that is the one between Windsor Castle and Harthill, at a cost of $62 million. We are doing what we need to do to manage the pumping stations, to connect the distribution network. But we have far too much theft of water in Jamaica. The cost of NWC as opposed to other utilities does not justify this theft. NWC and certainly this regional team is willing to work around the clock to connect all those who request these connections once they're within areas that we can connect. There is absolutely no need to steal the water, and when they do, they deprive the children certainly attending that institution.
And we turn our attention now to tonight's COVID-19 update, where according to the latest statistics from the Ministry of Health and Wellness, Jamaica yesterday recorded 73 new cases of COVID-19 and 1 additional virus-related death, increasing the total of confirmed cases now to 146,541 and the death toll to 3,195. The latest fatality is of a 94-year-old female from St. Catherine who died in April of this year. The total of persons who have recovered from the virus is now 93,941. In the meantime, the Ministry of Health and Wellness has been advised that the latest gene sequencing performed at the University of the West Indies identified the presence of the Omicron B4 and B5 subvariants in Jamaica. 87 samples were sequenced with sample dates from May 13 to July 11, 2022. All were identified as the Omicron variant. Of the 87 samples with sequencing, 8 or 9% were BA5 and 6% were BA4 subvariants. And those are the stories making news. I am Shelley Hill. Stay safe. Thanks for watching and pleasant viewing.